We have an hour that I'm really excited about here at the Young Turks. Not only do I have me, which is already awesome enough, obviously, but Jimmy Dore and Sam Seder are in the Young Turks studios. Look at this. Mm-hmm. You know what you call this? An all-star panel.
I appreciate the blue coat that you hand everybody who comes into the studio. Thank you.
Now, to be fair, yours is blue, Jimmy's got stripes in it, and mine is black. So we're a little
right.
Which, by the way, is like about the variation you have in our politics. Like in cable news, this would be totally unacceptable. They'd be like, "Where's the conservative hack?
Right,
right? Where's the third way guy?"
I thought we were black and blue because that's what the president's been doing to the progressives. Oh, that's what I thought.
All right, so we got as Bush used to say, I make a lot of big ones, I make a lot of little ones, right? So we got some big topics here that we're going to discuss, and then if we have time, we're going to get into some of the smaller issues, which are fun, because Handy's clip on birth control is fantastic. All right, so let's get started. Topic one, is the economy screwed? New numbers out today, 117,000 jobs were added. That was generally a good thing, but there are also some warning signs. Number one, the rate of growth is not nearly enough. The reason that unemployment went down from 9.2% to 9.1% is apparently almost solely because of the people who have left the workforce. Manufacturing is totally flat. And here's a fairly devastating fact. In June of 2007, the ratio of employment to population, right? So that gives you a sense of how many people are employed based on how many people there are in the country, because obviously the population keeps growing, was 63% in 2007. In June of 2009, after the Great Recession, it was at 59.4%. Now, it must be better than after the Great Recession, right? Wrong. It is now at a low of 58.2%. So obviously, we are not keeping up with the rate of growth, let alone getting back into the positive territory. All right. So having said that, let's get started. Jimmy, economy screwed or no?
Oh no, the economy's fantastic. I mean, I just was reading Herbert Hoover's diary, and we're doing exactly what he said to do. So how it's going to work, right? Isn't that going to work? And and all the people who are out of jobs with no money to pay for anything were thrilled that we averted an economic disaster with the debt ceiling.
Yeah, first of all, people were really worried about the debt ceiling as they were looking for jobs at Carl's Jr.
Right.
Thrilled.
And they're so glad that we manufactured a fake crisis over that and then resolved it by cutting spending. That worked out great for them.
Right. Economy screwed. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you can. It's not just a question of joblessness. When you cut government, now granted, a lot of this is backloaded, and you've got only about some odd 30 billion cut in next year. What you're also going to see is the lack of extension of unemployment benefits, and also the expiration of the Social Security tax moratorium. So that's essentially functions as another almost $200 billion cut in the economy, because when you take those unemployment benefits out of people's hands, they're not spending it. When you take that tax abatement out of people's hands and they're not spending that money, that functions as a cut in our economy. So we're going to be looking at spending decreasing, government spending decreasing, and it's necessarily going to hurt the economy.
But guys, here's the thing, right? The Obama administration disagrees with us. First of all, President Obama just earlier today said, quote, things will get better, right, on the economy.
Did he give a timeline? Did he give a timeline on that?
Yeah, well, of course he wants.
I mean, imagine at one point they might get better, but
I'm not even entirely sure about that, actually.
Was he saying the economy's gay and it's going to things get better?
Things
Is that
get
what
better.
He's saying? Is that what he's saying?
That would actually be a hilarious parody. If they did that, if the Republicans were smart enough to do that, but they won't be.
Right. So
it'll be up to us progressives. Anyway, and Geithner was out there on Wednesday morning talking about how terrific the economy is going to be going. So they really believe. See, here's the two camps, right? Their camp is, look, we've done the best we can. We did the stimulus, and don't worry, we're also going to try to do things like free trade agreements. We're going to try to get abatement of the payroll tax a little longer, et cetera, and the economy is going to improve. And they really believe that at the White House. I think they do. I think they drank their own Kool-Aid.
Really?
And then there's people like Robert Reich who go, no, the fundamentals of the economy are just flawed.
Oh, sorry.
Some actions taken while the account mobile meet was offline could not be completed online.
I didn't know my
Has
computer
Anonymous
talked.
taken over the show?
I didn't know my computer talked.
I thought Anonymous was behind us. Anyway, the other camp is that the fundamentals are all wrong. Robert Reich makes this point all the time, about we just were tapped out. It's 70% service. Consumer spending is 70% of our GDP, and we're just not going to recover based on these actions. Are you guys clearly in the Reich camp?
Yes. Clearly in the Reich camp. I mean, it's funny what's happening here is they said, we protected Pell Grants, right? But they also cut a provision for graduate students to not have to pay their interest on their student loans until they get out of college, right? Well, now they have to start paying that, which is going to cost each graduate student $8,000 more a year on average. And where does that money go? Does it go into the economy? No, it goes to the banks. It goes back to the banks who are sitting on all the money anyway. So things are just, but that's really who we should be trying to extract the money out to fix this deficit problem is we don't want to put it on our children or grandchildren. We want to put it on college students and the elderly today.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Well, I actually think that the problem is maybe worse than anybody else thinks it is. I think there's some chance we're just not going to recover, period. I mean, certainly on this track, whether it's Obama's philosophy or, God forbid, Romney gets in office, obviously that he's not going to help the situation. Look, one thing is that people have shown over and over, you can look at the facts over the last however many decades, when you cut taxes, it actually hurts the economy. Mm-hmm. When you increase taxes, although it might seem counterintuitive to some, the economy actually grows, as it did under Bill Clinton, right? That's one side of it. But the other side that's scarier to me is, over the last 2 decades, the average male worker is working an extra 100 hours.
Right.
Okay. The average female worker is working an extra 200 hours.
And a year?
A year.
Okay.
Okay. And we've lost $7.8 trillion worth of value in our homes. Okay, we're tapped out. There's nothing left.
Well, I mean, this gets to how the establishment determines whether or not the economy is doing good. The GDP can go up. Consumer spending, 70% of our economy is driven by consumer spending. 60% of that comes from the very wealthy in this country. So theoretically, you could actually have the GDP grow and not add the type of jobs that it's supposed to do. I mean, we saw that under Bush. And you're right, wages have been stagnant for 30 years. We have a fundamental, not only is the economy not going to recover for years, I believe, under the rules that the establishment sets for what's a good economy. I don't think we're going to see the economy improve for the vast majority of Americans, maybe ever. I mean, because there's definitely, unless there's some type of radical change in this country where we begin to perceive the economy as doing well, if more people have have greater wages than rather than the wages and the income and the assets concentrated at the very top.
All right, so that actually brings us to question number 2, which is Obama going to get reelected? Because I want to, because it's connected to jobs, obviously, in a big way. They now say that now that they got rid of the debt ceiling issue, kind of, which actually we're going to get back into in Thanksgiving with the super committee, they are ready to pivot to jobs. But the Huffington Post has done a brilliant job of finding all the times that the Obama administration said they were going to pivot to jobs. Let's watch the video.
Now's the time to jumpstart job creation. That is what my economic agenda is designed to do. It's an agenda that begins with jobs.
We do have a jobs emergency. President Obama promised an unrelenting, unyielding, day-by-day effort by this administration.
An unrelenting, unyielding, day-by-day effort from this administration.
To fight for economic recovery on all fronts.
To fight for economic recovery on all fronts.
Relentless commitment to job creation.
I am not interested in taking a wait-and-see approach when it comes to creating jobs. What I'm interested in is taking action right now to help businesses create jobs right now. A lot of the debate in Washington has been around health care, so people think, well, I guess they must not be working on jobs. No, we've been working on jobs the whole time. Jobs must be our #1 focus in 2010. Saving and creating jobs have to continue to be our focus in 2010.
With everything else he has in his plate, his laser focus has been jobs, 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 jobs.
I noticed the press yesterday, because we had this jobs forum in the White House, they said, Obama's finally pivoting to jobs.
Absolutely, they're going to pivot to jobs.
Pivot onto the economy.
Hard pivot.
Tried to pivot.
Which was a very awkward pivot.
President Obama can pivot.
As if what we haven't been doing for the whole 9 months, from the day I was sworn in and we start talking about the recovery, was all about jobs. I think we are past the crisis point in the economy, but we now have to pivot and focus on jobs and growth. My singular focus over the next 2 years is not rescuing the economy from potential disaster, but rather jump-starting the economy so that we actually start making a dent in the unemployment rate. I want to announce that the leaders of both parties in both chambers have reached an agreement that will reduce the deficit and avoid default. It will allow us to turn to the very important business of doing everything we can to create jobs. That's what we should be devoting all of our time to accomplishing in the months ahead.
All right. Well, let's start the conversation this way. Did they ever focus like a laser beam on jobs?
Well, no, not like a laser beam. I mean, the fact is that we now know, as we look at numbers from back there, the economy was actually far worse than we even anticipated at the time, at the end of 2008 or early 2009. They did rescue us from a depression at that time, but it was basically like, the boat is sunk. They've pulled people out of the water, but we're still on the raft. We're not on land yet. And it seems like at one point, either the administration just made the determination, we can't do anything more for jobs, or we won't. And now they really feel that they can't, and the only thing we can do is keep talking about jobs. And so this is more of a sales job. Maybe they think that they've done everything they can. There are a lot more things they could do, but they're not going to do them. And because at the end of the day, they don't perceive that as enough of a political threat.
But I don't even know what they think they're doing on jobs. So, like, for example, like some of the proposals that Obama laid out after his 88th pivot to jobs, which I don't think he's ever really pivoted to jobs. How can you say you pivoted to jobs like he did at the end of 2010 and then spend all of 2011 talking about debt ceilings and budget showdowns and spending cuts? He's never pivoted, right? So when he talks to pivoting, he says, oh, I'm going to do free trade deals. That could cost us jobs, right?
The opposite.
Patent reform is a fight between different corporations. The tech companies want patent reform, but the drug companies don't, et cetera. But that's not necessarily going to create jobs. These are all for corporate interests. My problem, Jimmy, is I'm afraid that they have the Geithner mentality that if you just do big business on Wall Street enough favors, that out of the good mercy of their heart, they will create jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said before, it's like, well, doesn't he realize, I mean, they say, well, the reason he's doing this and capitulating to the Republicans is so he can appear moderate and the independents will like him and it'll increase his chances of re-election, but nothing increases your chance of re-election more than creating jobs. So he knows that his reducing spending during a recession is the opposite of what you can't find a credible economist to say what he's doing is the right thing to create jobs. So I don't understand, like, it's just kind of that's why he's so mind-boggling. It's like there doesn't seem to be any method to his madness, because this is not going to help. Everybody says if unemployment is up, it's going to be hard for him to get reelected. So why wouldn't he try to fix the unemployment?
That's a great question, Sam, and I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I mean, look, again, I turn to Reich because he's just been so right throughout all of this. He says they learned all along wrong lessons from '96. Right. He's like, I was in the Clinton White House. Right. He's like, look, we Dick Morris and school uniforms and all that nonsense. He's like, who cares? We were creating 400,000 jobs a month. Right. That's why we got reelected.
Right. I mean, listen, I think there's also a chance that they actually believe that cutting the deficit, they're being told that this is going to free up capital. I mean, I haven't heard a mainstream economist make this argument, frankly. So I think they just think that at the end of the day, people still blame Bush, and rightly, for those 8 years for where the economy is now, and they are hoping that they're going to be able to eke it out on his personality. I mean, I think the White House sits there and just prays every day that it's Michelle Bachmann, because if it's Michelle Bachmann, then the argument becomes much easier. Do you want the Tea Party to be in the presidency? But if it's Mitt Romney, an empty suit, but that's much easier to project solutions onto a guy who's an empty suit.
Let me press on that point a little bit more. Look, Obama. Apparently, one guy he has meetings alone with once a week, guaranteed, is Tim Geithner.
Right.
Like, it's almost like his Dick Cheney, right? He gathers with him and then says, okay, Tim, what do we do? So what is it? Does he believe Geithner's strategy of if we help the banks and we ease up on them and we give the corporations another tax cut or whatever it is, they'll create? Does he really believe that, you guys think? Or if he doesn't, what is he thinking? I'm not sure. I think he believes it.
Nobody believes that. I don't think Timothy Geithner believes that.
Really?
I think Timothy Geithner is just doing what he's doing to help. He's a Wall Street guy, so he's helping out the Wall Street guys, and they're taking their marching orders from Wall Street, like they always did. And and I just want to, before I forget, address the biggest thing about is that the corporations are sitting on $2 trillion worth of capital, and they're not hiring, and it's because confidence, and they're worried about the debt and confidence, and that is such bullshit. It has got nothing to do with that. It's you hire people when there's a demand for your product, and you need someone to service that demand. So when demand goes up, and demand isn't going up because the people who buy stuff don't have jobs, and people who buy stuff, their wages have been flat, and that's what's wrong with the economy, and that's why they're sitting on it, because we got to get back to a demand economy. What FDR did was put money in the pockets of working people, and that created demand. But what Reagan has, and what we've done since the last 40 years, is supply side, put money in the hands of the rich people, and that's going to trickle down. But they already have everything. They've already bought their houses, their yachts. They already have their tennis courts. So that's not going to stimulate the economy.
Let me jump in for 1 second here, because we have personal experience here at the Young Turks with this. Like, knock on wood, things have been going well here, right? So over the last year, we've gone from about 5 employees to about 12 employees, right? At no time.
You did that because of tax breaks.
Yeah,
right? Tax breaks.
First of all, I don't think we get a single
tax breaks.
I don't think we get a single tax break.
You got that Social Security abatement to 2%, and you were like, I'm swimming in cash. Let's just shove more bodies in here. Of course, it's ridiculous.
All right, now seriously, like at no point did I have an internal conversation with people here thinking like, well, we have uncertainty, and since they haven't done the debt ceiling deal yet, should we hire more people or not? No, we're like, hey, we want to expand, we want to grow. We think that we might be able to make more money if we hire people. That's how it works.
I think Geithner actually fundamentally believes it. I mean, I think that they believe that the economy is a function of what wealthy people do. And I think that they see the economy and the world through the eyes of someone who perceives even corporations as financial instruments, rather than actually an entity that is measured by how many, what product it puts out, how many people they service. I think they look at these as financial instruments. I think that's why when the stock market goes down 500 points in a day, the world is on fire. But the idea that you've got millions upon millions, tens of millions of Americans out of work, they're running out of unemployment insurance. What are you going to do?
I'm with Sam. And I'll tell you one quick reason why, Jimmy, and then we'll let you get the last word. Because look, and I know guys who are in the upper brackets who are like, why are you criticizing Obama? Obama and Geithner are doing well. Look at the stock market. Why? Because they have money in the stock market, right? They don't know people who are unemployed. They know people who have money in the stock market. And that's why today they're panicking. They're like, oh my God, the only thing that we judge anything by is the stock market. And when it goes down, then they're like, oh, we might actually have trouble. And look, in one of these stories about the economy I read, they said, one of the upsides is that corporate profits are at a record high. I'm like, that's an upside for who? Right?
And it's an upside if you're a CEO with stock options. It's an upside if you're a shareholder, period. And that's the sad thing.
But it obviously does not lead to jobs. No. But I think that they think they do.
George Carlin said, I just watched this clip yesterday online, he's talking about the people who own the society. And in George Carlin's words, they don't give a fuck about you. So this whole thing is that, the theory that they just think that if they help the wealthy, that's all that matters. They don't give a fuck about people. They don't care about jobs. They only care about the stock market. That's all they care about. And it's not like they think that, if we fix the stock market, it will help people. They don't care if it helps people. That's the deal.
Right. Look, I think they got to sleep at night, so they make excuses for themselves. Right? Like thinking like, if we help the stock market and I get really rich, then it will actually help other people.
This is projecting a conscience onto people who have no conscience.
No, I think. Listen, you live in a certain bubble. You're just simply not aware of it. I mean, your driver, he's doing okay because he's got a job and he's your driver. Your cook is doing okay because they've got a job. They're cooking at your house. I think these people live in a bubble. I don't think they have a sense of what reality is, frankly. And so I don't even think that this question of, I just don't think it's on their radar any more so than what's going on with the, there's an ant colony in the parking lot. I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. If my car drives over it, I wouldn't even know it. And I think that's the mentality.
And the ants are looking for card check, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And here's what I can guarantee them. They ain't going to get it.
So many of them have not voted in this union election that I assume they don't want a union.
All right.
I saw Diane Sawyer, just to this point that we're talking to. Diane Sawyer was interviewing Nancy Pelosi after the debt deal, and she said to her, point blank, she said, do you really think this is going to hurt people? What? Of course. I mean, Doris, what other conclusion can you draw from that? Of course, this is going to hurt real people.
Right.
That's a question she posed for real. Like Diane Sawyer was like, "Come on, Nancy, you really think this?" Well, of course, she's a millionaire. She's been a millionaire for decades. She works for a corporation, and so. Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
No, I definitely agree with the bubble theory. We all agree with the bubble theory,
right.
whether they care, don't care, know, don't know, etc. All right, great conversation. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, is Obama a Trojan horse? Now, that's a serious charge, but there's some serious people making that charge. We'll talk about it. And also, the super committee, how badly are we going to get screwed? Come right back.